Mm, 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 mm. A few minutes over here. Mm, mm. Mm, mm. Yes, I do. Mm, cool. Right. All right, so I'm just gonna start little by little. People are gonna be showing up. That's how usually it goes for these meetings. Um, So my just to give you guys a little bit of background, my name is Elton, like Elton John. I don't do any singing, unfortunately, but I do and have done some wholesale deals in state of California and also out of state of California. That's where I got started out of state as well too. I've been doing the wholesaling for about 8 months. And so I'm not trying to do too much of it at the moment. I'm actually transitioning into becoming an investor. So I've been attending a lot of more network events. That way I can understand how some buyers end up buying a lot of the rental properties and just try to get an understanding what it is that they look for. Along the way of wholesaling a few months back, I like part of my of doing like analysis. It is analyzing like a deal, see if it works well, but just to get more insight and experiences from other investors, so that way I can apply those same strategies as well too, and just start building like my own portfolio. And that is the ultimate goal that I'm transitioning over for the new year. But the reason I wanted to create these events is because or this whole series, recently wholesale series is because in the beginning I've experienced this where when it comes to like getting a deal done or getting a deal organized and set up and try to make it flow as smoothly as possible. Part of that process is making sure that you're analyzing the property. Some people like to call it underwriting. Underwriting has like two different definitions. There is like the underwriting of a loan, and then there's the underwriting of basically doing analysis of a property, which is what we're going to be focusing on today's topic. So with real estate wholesaling, there is quite a good amount of steps that you have to go through, but the major one that a lot of people dwell upon and spend a good amount of time is doing the analysis part. And so I have designed some steps and also calculators that can help you expedite that process. That way you can understand where your numbers need to come in and then how your buyers are going to react to the property that you're looking into and try to get under contract for, because they're going to be doing their numbers a little bit different from yours. But then if you're preparing yourself and then you're organizing everything very thoroughly and then very smoothly, and you're doing your due diligence very strong, and then when you're showing that analysis to an end buyer, when they see all that, then they don't have a lot of leverage besides them hitting you with, oh, it's going to need some extra repairs. That should be like the only thing, because you're going to be bringing in how much they could be making, while bringing all the comps and everything. So I'm gonna walk through all these steps that we're going to go through. So again, these are going to be like all the steps when it comes to real estate wholesaling. Again, the main one I'm going to be focusing on today is making sure that you're doing the analysis part, which will be the estimated repairs and MAO, or maximal allowable offer. And also, I'm going to provide some examples, some previous examples, one that's actually currently live of a possible deal. And then another one is going to be just a random one, which we're going to do like a spin the wheel type of thing. And that way walk you through how I analyze some of the properties. So first things first, when it comes to a real estate wholesaling, the number one thing that we're going to be looking into is ARV. So ARV stands for after repair value. This is the number one thing that all investors are going to want to know about a deal. It's the number one thing, so that way they can start doing their due diligence and their numbers. The ARV, the way we're going to walking through it, I'll show you guys in a second, but the way each investor does it, that's the number one thing that they want to get out of a property. And then the rest of the numbers are going to be very tricky. That's why whenever you're looking for buyers, it is essential to find out how active they are and what kind of return they're looking for, what kind of margins they're looking out of a deal. And then of course you want to apply like your wholesale fee into that. So that's something else that you do have to consider as well. But over here, examples 1, 2, and 3, or all these 3 different investors, as you notice, all of them are going to be doing very different things. And the numbers are going to be very differently. And not only addition to that, they're part of the repairs is going to be something else they're going to be doing very differently. So everybody does things very differently, but when you're doing like your numbers, part of that is making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And they're going to be doing like the same thing. It's just they're going to use different sources and different pages and whatnot, just different sources, basically, just get to make sure that they're doing like their due diligence as well too, or maybe they have somebody else who they rely upon to do the due diligence. Part of the next steps after the ARV is of course the repairs. I don't dwell too much in repairs, but these numbers over here, from the light repairs to the average repair prices per square foot and the gut job repairs, these are going to be pretty standard all over the US. Some states like California, Seattle, New York, Florida, Texas, Chicago, they're all going to have their prices are going to fluctuate plus or minus a few thousands, just because those areas are going to be more of a demand, and are just going to be the prices is going to be a lot higher on those areas. So that's something else that you do have to consider. But when you start getting a sense of working with some buyers, especially the same buyer over and over again, you start getting a sense of how much they like to do on the repairs, and just becomes repetition, and it just flows a lot smoother. So the first deal is always the hardest deal, but once you start get that snowball effect rolling, especially getting to work with different buyers, you're basically starting to spread your arsenal and your toolbox, which is going to help you leverage and understand where everybody is going to be coming from. And then when you're presenting these offers out there, then it could be a lot smoother to go from there. But again, the repairs are basically just all across the board. They're going to be very, very down to these numbers over here. And after that, whenever you're looking at a at a property, that some of the next steps that we have to look is we do have to look at comps or comparables, and we do have to stick to certain parameters that an appraiser whenever a property gets appraised after it gets valued, or they are going to be sticking within like the same neighborhood, and they are going to be sticking to certain parameters that are going to be like this. These parameters are going to be in terms of like living space, square footage. They're not going to go way too far out of the area or the neighborhood whatsoever. So they're going to stick within a mile radius. They're also not going to cross double yellow line roads or heavy traffic roads, kind of like this one over here in Long Beach. It's on Ocean or PCH a road, and then this basically is an example where an appraiser that he or she is not going to cross to comp one property from this side. There's another property that's exactly the same. So again, we're comparing apples to apples, and they're not going to be comparing those two just because again, this is going to be a whole different neighborhood. And it just what splits it up is this heavy traffic road because again, a family. I mean, if, depending on how the neighborhood is set up and everything, it just no family is going to want to cross somewhere else where they have to be like, oh, that's sold for this much, but that's not the way it actually gets analyzed whatsoever. Another thing too, when we're looking at a property, it is in terms of years. Again, we are comparing apples. You don't want to compare a 2005 home, compare it to a 1940s home because materials are going to be different. Structures could be very different, and again, it's just outdated to comparable to like fully updated or newer conditions type of properties. That again, you want to stick within the same year or plus or minus 10 years. The next things could be comps. Whenever you're looking for comps, one comp is not going to be just sufficient enough. Sometimes you might get away every once a blue moon, but that's because again, you probably have like an end buyer that's just like, oh, okay, there's activity going on. Okay, I'll take that one comp. But most of the time, there a lot of end buyers, they're going to want to make sure that you're finding quite a few comps because again, they're going to do their homework and they're going to find one or two of the similar comps that you have, and they're gonna find something else as well too, just because all the different platforms out there, or Redfin, Zillow, PropStream. If you're a real estate agent, you have access to the MLS. There's just so many programs out there that everybody has different information. The most reliable one it is going to be the MLS from like agents, but at the same time, they don't won't look in too depth into it unless you're an agent that is also wholesaling. Then you have a good amount of leverage because you're able to bring that over to like an end buyer, but you do have to take precautions or stand within these comp parameters. Whenever you're bringing an offer in, that you do have to bring, of course, the offer in, but you also do want to stick to certain contingencies. And what these contingencies do are basically going to give, are going to be structured on how quickly you are going to be able to close on the deal. Also, you can leverage if you want to mention that you want to pay or your end buyer is going to be paying the closing fees. You can leave it out, and then maybe afterwards, part of the negotiation is just bring, you know what, we're willing to actually pay for your closing fees. Will that help you make a decision a lot faster? And so you can play with that with those closing fees and just use it as your own leverage. EMD or earnest money deposit. This is the deposit that is going to need it to make sure that there is financial interest into like the property. It's usually between 500 to 1% of the deal. Occasionally you're going to come across an aggressive seller. Or if you're working with the on-market property with an agent that they're going to tell you like, oh, if you're really serious, you need to put in 2 or 3% of the deal. Sometimes I like to ask that question of how much EMD should I put in. I want to make sure that I put like the pressure back on the person that I'm talking to, so that way I can know if I need to put like a good amount of EMD, so that way I can actually show the how serious we are on getting like the deal, or if you're going to be sticking to our standard 1%, which the standard across the board, I barely come across 2 or 3% EMDs. It's just usually again 1% of however much you're buying like the property. But the only thing with EMD, which leads to the next thing, is the inspection period. Part of your process is to have it is mandatory, required. There's no buts, no cuts, and there's no zero exceptions whatsoever. This is non-negotiable where you do need to have a inspection period. If you come across a person, a seller, or even an agent that it's strictly not allowing you to do an inspection period, you have to get a good amount of details of why that's not being allowable. And then sometimes if I don't like it, I don't like that there's not an inspection period being allowed. To me, it's kind of a red flag for me to put up that I rather just walk away from that deal and then move to something else that best fits. Where again, we want to stick to the having an inspection period, because inspection period is going to be for quite a few things. One of them is to prepare your marketing, take your pictures, get out there, check out the property, estimate roughly how much the repairs could be. Again, that's why I don't dwell too much in repairs, is because repairs, one buyer can spend hundreds per square foot on repairs, and then you gotta have an end buyer that is going to be very inexpensive, and they're just trying to get it quickly to rent it out possibly, so they're not going to be spending a lot of money. So that's why I like to stick to like a standards. So it's to take the pictures, check out the property, bring your end buyers. If you're doing it locally, bring your end buyers to the property, or you can say, or you can tell the seller or the agent, these are my partners. They're just going to be checking out the property on this day, so that they can look at it themselves and get their estimates, bring their contractors in, whatever it is. And for the inspection period, we do stick to 15 days. If they, for whatever reason, give me an objection that 15 days is a lot, then again, I put the pressure back. How many days can you give me then? 12 days, does 12 days work? And then minimum, nothing below that is going to be 10 days, unless you have a buyer that is like, I'm okay with like a week, 7 days, and I'll give you like an answer within 7 days. But again, that's if you have buyers already lined up. And then the EMD, once either your buyer is fully satisfied and they actually want to move forward with the deal, then that's when the EMD gets deposited. Either gets deposited before the inspection period ends or on the last day of the inspection period. So again, you have the financial interest onto that specific property, where you're gonna get the title, wholesale friendly, preferably title company, and then send over send over the EMD over to that agent, to that agent, to the title. Um, the thing about doing like a lot of deals is sometimes just figure out where to start or how to like analyze like a deal. So I do have a live example for you guys. This is a current deal that I actually came across, but I already know the answer to this, but this is more to like show you guys what it will be, and I'll definitely love to get your guys' feedback. You can always raise your hand if you have a question at any given point, or if you want to reserve your questions until the end of the presentation and until the end of the second live deal or no deal, a prototype. Then from there you can ask your questions. So any questions you have at any given moment, let me know. I will be asking questions, so that way you guys can also engage on this live Zoom as well too, just because I don't want to be the only one talking. I want to make sure that you guys are able to understand how everything is set up. So this is a Montgomery, Alabama property. The seller is actually asking $159,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's been on Zillow for 61 days, which is really good. It is listed as for sale by owner. So what this means is two things is the owner specifically and strictly doesn't now want to go with an agent. They're going to do that because they can't afford those agent fees, or they're just trying to get like a deal. So usually, as a for sale by owner, it's kind of they're waving like a white flag for somebody or an investor to come in to like check out this property because it could be a deal. But at the same time, I'm going to be questioning a lot of the things that they're going to be listing. The number one thing I'm going to be questioning is how'd you come up with this asking price? Because sometimes they probably work with a friend that is an agent, so that friend agent is helping them out, and that's how they got it listed. But again, I'm gonna do my due diligence, my analysis to make sure it's actually worth it. So I got the property information. We do have a few pictures over here. Going back to the repairs, yeah, I'll go back to it in a second. So far for this property, I am looking that it needs to get a carpet change, maybe definitely update like the painting on the walls, change the lighting like a little bit. There's just like different, there's like a green, yellow, and kind of like a little bit lighter lighting going on here. So it's like a mix of colors happening. Definitely update like the bathroom and definitely like the kitchen. Going back to those repairs, where would you guys estimate for those repairs to be, like in the light, average, or like gut job repairs based on this property that we're analyzing at the moment?
I would
I
probably
would
say light
say
repair.
average.
Average? All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you guys are definitely right. It is going to be average. At the same time, we do also have to check out and see if it has like an AC unit because it is Alabama. It definitely gets humid and hot out there. So that's something else that we have to add. But yes, it is going to be more in the average. Because again, everything that we just mentioned, floors, lighting, kitchen, paint, bathroom, and then anything else that comes along the way. So I'm not gonna dwell too much on it, but especially being in Alabama, I can't book a flight, go check out the property. I'm not gonna be able to do that with every single deal. It's just I want to make sure I get the most out of the pictures, or just get on the phone with the seller directly and ask a lot of questions. I'm gonna be asking a lot of, that's the number one thing we're asking about the property. Maybe even engage with the how long did the person live in there, or were they renting it out? And then just ask a lot of questions about the property and kind of bring in some like relationship questions into that, so that way I can like break the ice and not just make it like, oh, $159,000, it's this is way too much. The reason I want to buy it a lot lower is because X, Y, and Z. No, I want to make sure I'm engaging with the purpose and then just working on the relationship side. So then now the analysis part. Now I'm looking at that deal. The next thing I got to be looking for is checking out like the property, see what's going on around there. But also I'm basically getting some information from the seller. So the seller is telling me that if I were to buy this property, or our end buyer buys this property at $159,000, we add our wholesale fee into this as well too. The our end buyers could be paying the closing fees of $15,900. It's usually 5% if you're buying for yourself, but then if you have an end buyer or the wholesaling deal, the end buyer is going to be paying both the sellers, because again, it's part of the contingency or part of the negotiation to make the transaction go smoother. So it's either 5% or 10%. I'm gonna go with 10% because we're gonna find a fix and flipper buyer for this case. Next is repairs. You guys went on the average side, so same thing. I went on the average side based on the square footage on the property. It costs around $42,000 to repair. It could be more, it could be less. If it's less, it's better. If it's more, then that's something else that we do have to consider. But our end buyer is going to give us that feedback because they're the ones doing a lot of fix and flipping themselves. So I averaged that out close to like at first I started at $30 a square foot, but I played it safe. I went an extra five. So when in doubt, go an extra $5 per square foot on the repairs, just so again you're playing it safe because you never know what could happen. My investor, maybe I have an investor or an buyer that actually wants to they like to make 15% percent on their profit. And then basically after adding all this, so I'm summing 159 15,000 closing fees, 42,000 repairs, and then also putting in the investor's profit, then our seller is basically telling us this property can sell around $250,000. Well, if that's the case, let's check it out. I gotta check out the neighborhood and see what it is. And then as soon as I look up the neighborhood, the property, if I remember, it's like somewhere like one of these streets over here. It's a close end. If you guys recall, part of the reason I draw this outline out here is because, again, I got to stick to those comparables parameters where I'm not going to be going beyond those major roads because I see this major highway over here. Then there's a freeway. And then based on those exits of the freeway, these are basically main roads where there's going to be a lot of traffic coming in. So that's why I can't compare the comps. I can't be looking for comps outside on this area just because, again, an appraiser, he or she's not going to be looking at that whatsoever. They're going to stick within the neighborhood. So far in the neighborhood, there were three good comps. I circled them, which are going to be these. So these were the three most recently sold comps in the last 6 to 9 months. And those are the standards to whenever an investor is looking for for any comps is within the last 6 to 9 months. And close to a year, not so much. They want to get like the closest, especially with the last year. Last year has been a mix of prices just fluctuating all over the place, and then same thing's gonna happen for this year. So we want to make sure we get like the closest ones, and these three were the closest ones of those comps whatsoever. There was a good one. This one right over here sold for like the most because, as you can see, it has a better flooring, updated lighting, a chandelier, a painting, not so much. Maybe they kept it like that and they just add like little touches. I don't have like the pictures for that specifically, but basically these are all my three strongest comps that I can find. And I'm gonna average out the square footage or the price per square foot. The way you do that is you get however much the property sold for and divide it by the square footage, and that's going to give you the price per square foot. Or if you click on the properties again on the descriptions or the detail property details, it's going to tell you how much the property is per square foot. So I'm gonna get the average per square foot on all these three properties. And then from there, it turned out to be $115.5 per square foot. I'm gonna multiply that square footage times my subject property square footage, which was 1192. And then from there, it's gonna give me what my actual ARV will be. So my actual ARV, based on what the neighborhood is selling, is actually $137,000 and $676 from there. So not really what basically the seller was showing us over here, like, oh, this property can actually sell for $249,500. And off the bat, I know it's a little bit hard to see. The highest one is actually 180. So that's not really the case. So now it's all about, again, letting the seller know after I work the relationship, get to know why the seller is selling, what their motivation is for like selling, how quickly they want to sell, and bringing over these facts because these are the facts that are happening in the neighborhood. And there's nothing really selling. Like the last thing that sold was in October. And the reason why is because from November through December, usually like the holidays time, even right now in January, now a lot of people are buying homes. So usually that's when those are the months that selling, there's a lot of selling just going down. I mean, a lot of buying is just going down. And not a lot of activity. So maybe in February, end of February, March, that's when things are going to start picking up. But again, we're trying to buy at the earliest time before prices getting going higher from there. Okay. Any questions so far from that? I know that was a lot of information. No? Awesome. All right. So I still got to continue doing my homework. So then now we're going to head over to bring a realistic offer into it because again, the seller is telling us you need to buy this I'm selling this for 159,000. But if I kind of average it up a little bit higher, our ARV is actually $140,000 from here. then I have to analyze and think on the side of my buyer, how much will my buyer end up buying the property for? So they're going to do their average investor rule of 70%. Some of them might do a little bit more, 75, 80%. It all again comes down to how it is that they do their numbers, which is whenever I'm looking for buyers, that's something I always like to ask and then see how they analyze like their deals. But for this investor, as an example, they're gonna stick to 70%. So it's gonna be $42,000. I gotta subtract from that. Then I have to subtract the $42,000 in repairs. Basically, excuse me, my end buyer needs to buy this property at $56,000, and that's $100,000 difference from what the seller is asking for. Of course, the seller is going to get offended, and they're going to reject it, and off the bat let you know in front of your face, oh, that's way too low. Don't call me. But again, that's where you have to bring in part of the facts into place, because again, if there's no activity happening at the asking price, then you have to bring the realistic truth to like the seller and just work with that. And if the deal doesn't happen to work because they're just like strictly at that price, then it's perfectly fine. You can still follow up, so that way they show how serious you are, and you're kind of placing yourself on top of their mind, that you'll basically become like the person who's actually serious, who's been consistent and persistent following up to show like your seriousness, but at the same time letting know like, look, if we want us for this deal to actually work, this is where we actually have to get it at. But at the same time, we as a wholesaler, you also have to consider your wholesale fee. So let's say you want to get a $10,000 wholesale fee, then now we're gonna have a maximum allowable offer to bring to the table, which is going to be $46,000, and that's gonna be off the bat as well too. Is gonna also get rejected, and it's perfectly fine. But again, that's the way you have to negotiate a lot of the deals. Now, let me ask you guys, are you going to start off at the $46,000, or how would you work with that offer? If that's something that, would you guys bring that offer right away and negotiate from that price, or how would you guys go about bringing that offer in?
Start lower, like maybe 42,000.
42,000. Okay, cool. Yes. So you'll definitely have to start lower. And I'm a little bit more aggressive. I'm not scared about getting rejected or it's being told no whatsoever. Again, it's just part of the process. So I actually start a little bit way lower. So that way I can increase in terms of like numbers, increase very steadily. So I'll drop down by $10,000. I'll start at 36. Then I'll head over to $41,000, so $5,000 increasement. Then I'll head over to my actual MAO of $46,000 into it. And then if I need to, I was like, you know what? Like, I know my end buyer will definitely maybe the seller can definitely work with you on that $56,000. Then or even a little bit higher than that, I'll just bring an extra offer in of $51,000. So that way I can bring over the deal to my end buyer, and just cut out, instead of being a $10,000 wholesale fee, it's only going to end up being like a $5,000 wholesale fee, which is perfectly fine. It's just you're doing a lot of the strong and painful hard work up front, that maybe your end buyer can definitely purchase it a little bit more than that, because again, a lot of end buyers, they do things very differently. And just so I can show you guys as an example, this is where my calculator has come into like place that I've designed for you guys, that I've been sharing on a lot of these Zoom meetings, is this. So going back to if you actually guys head over to like my website, eltonvargas.com, and then head over to the calculators tab, and click on the calculators, you'll have access to these pages, ARV and the complete rental one. We're going to go through the ARV one. And if you guys use coupon code not gatekeeping, it could be all capitalized or not capitalized, doesn't really matter. You guys will have access to the entire everything on the calculator about to show you, which is everything that we just did. Again, the sellers are asking $159,000. The asking the square footage was 1192. There's no basement on this home whatsoever. Um, Off the bat, I do want to wholesale this deal. So I do get a starting a possible purchase price, but again, I'm not going to be sticking to that. I need to continue going through like the rest of the steps so I can make sure where my buyers are going to be buying it for. When I was doing my due diligence, again, I put my price per square foot to be around $35,000 or close to like $42,000. My investor wants to make a 15%, profit on the deal. So off the bat over here, again, there's two ARVs. This is the one that the seller is basically telling me I need to sell the property for that way I can make my money. Because again, real estate investors and also real estate wholesaling, they're both businesses. It's about the business of making sure that you're getting like the best deal out of a property, but it's still a business to consider. So I have to treat it as such where we have to make some profit into any deal. And then of course there's the possible purchase price, which it reflects on how much I need to get it under contract for. But again, I still have to do my homework and continue going through the rest of the steps. The next step is finding those comps. As I was showing earlier, we did find there was three comps averaging so 102, 88, 100, so I'm gonna say 103, 124, and the other one was 120. So then over here, the calculator automatically gives you what the ARV is for that specific property. So again, I averaged that out a little bit higher. So I'll say this property can definitely sell for like $140,000. And then from there, my investor, this is going to be the investor that is going to be doing a fix and flip. I have two different investors, one who's going to be very aggressive on the deal, and the other one who's going to be a little bit more conservative into it, because from my experience, I've learned that these two are the type of investors that you'll come across, or even like a third one, fourth, fifth one, whatsoever. They're all going to be doing the numbers differently. Or maybe I want to find an investor that is going to be spending a little bit less on the repairs. So they'll actually cut it down to like maybe $25 a square foot, and they actually want to buy and hold the property. So then now you have a little bit more room to like negotiate from these. So these are what these numbers right over here are the purchase price, or what your end buyer is going to want to purchase the contract from you whenever they're looking at a deal. And then again, whatever your wholesale fee is, a 10, 15, $20,000 wholesale fee that you want to add, that's where you have to subtract that from what the seller. I would like to preferably go with the aggressive one. So I'll subtract my $15,000 wholesale fee out of this number over here and just work my negotiations from this buyer. Or again, if it's a fix and flipper, whatever the number is, and maybe negotiate, maybe make it a $10,000 wholesale fee. And again, this will break down their closing costs based on the new purchase price or the assignment of the contract, how much they're going to be purchasing that contract for. And again, I put in over here how much their profit is, if they're going to want to stick to like 15 or 20%. If it's a fix and flip, it is going to be 15 to 20%. If it's going to be a buy and hold investor, it is going to be close to like 10%. So it all gonna it's gonna be very different, but the more you get to know your end buyers, that's the way this is gonna be basically breaking down for you. And then from there, this is what I like to bring over to my end buyer. So I like to tell them, look, I found this property. It's at 159,000. I was actually able to get under contract for $60,000. So $8,000 less. Your profit is going to be between 15.5 to 15,500 to like $17,000, or roughly around 15% on the profit. The ARV is going to be $140,000, and it's going to need roughly about $30,000 in repairs. And then you give them all your comps and details from there. If it's a rental, then again, show them like the rental side, how much the property can rent for you. Again, if it's a buy and hold person whatsoever. So all of this basically just shrinks down like your time of how fast you need to analyze the deal. The only thing that you do have to go through is just, again, find a property, or if you're pulling lists, go through all those lists, get a number. The number one thing when it comes to like starting up, it is getting the asking price. you could do the asking price quite a few ways. One is strictly ask the seller, well, how much are you looking to get out of it? You just want to make sure that you get a number out of them from it. If they're being negligent and they don't want to give out any numbers whatsoever, Redfin is free, Zillow is free, PropWire is a free website as well too. You don't have to subscribe to it whatsoever. The only thing you have to pay for is to like skip trace a property that you're looking into. So you're only paying like 10 cents to skip trace and it gives you all that information. Or if you want to use like free resource, another like a free website where you're doing like your own research without paying for it, is using truepeoplesearch.com. And then from there, put in like the address and then try to find whoever the owner is for like that address. But basically, Redfin, Zillow, any platform that you're always using, they're always gonna give out their Zillow does like their estimate. So it says it right here about how much they think it is that property is worth. Redfin, and every so often, most of the time it doesn't really say it. It just again very few properties it comes across to it. It just depends on like in the area as well too. Sometimes it will tell you right over here like the Redfin estimate from it. Or if you're looking at again PropWire or PropStream, like the paid subscription one. Then when you type in the address for like the property, um, this will also pop up over here. I see this one popping up. Okay. Sure. Let's look at this property. Or again, if you're using PropWire, it's going to show you like the estimated value for like the property on that website as well too. And what you can do, you can get the average from like all three of them or just two of them, whereas one is the one that shows you. So that way you can get like a perspective of how much the property could be how much you can initially buy it for, and just work through the rest of the numbers of repairs, the profit from the like investor. I like to stick to like the standard 20%, just because again, I want to play it aggressive. And then see if you're able to find some comps close to like this asking price or close to the ARVs over here. If it's based on what the seller's asking, or is it based on what your offer needs to come down to, and then just start working from there. Do your due diligence, find the comps, put in the average per square foot. It's going to give you a number. You can do plus or minus on that ARV, and then just work through them and see how much your end buyer is going to want to buy it from. Okay. So just so as an example, a second live example, I am going to be doing like a spin the wheel, of 38 states actually, that I like, and then just random cities from like those states. So I don't want to stick to like just urban cities. Today's topic is going to be Rapid City, Dakota. So I'm going to be just going through this so I can show you guys how it will go about looking for those comps. So Rapid City, Dakota. Any questions meanwhile I'm typing for this city over here? South Dakota. Okay.
I got one question just about the wholesaler's fee. Is it typically like 10,000 or like what's the most you can charge?
Average, like average from like all the deals, it is $8,000. So typically like 10,000, 10, 15, 20. Sometimes you might come across a little bit more of a deal. It all really like depends, but average is $10,000 from there. Because again, $10,000 from one deal, you do two deals in 1 month, that's 20,000, and then you slowly continue to like scale from there, or you're learning, but again, you just got to think of it as a business as well too. And then just start working on your profit, or eventually just transition to buying like your own properties. So once you start scaling, it's all about determining which path you want to go from there. But average, it is 10,000.
Okay, thank you.
So right here, what I'm trying to look for is the county. I like the city, but sometimes I want to get a bigger spectrum, so I just want to know what county we're looking at for Rapid City, South Dakota. So Pennington County, and then I'm just going to type it in here. Pennington County, beautiful. Same thing over here on Zillow. Get away from this. Uh, and if you guys have your own properties that you want me to analyze, that also will be even better as well too. So that way you can get an understanding or where your deal should be at in terms of it. Um, but if you don't, it's perfectly fine as well too. All right, so let's go through here. Let's see if we can find something. I definitely want to stay from like this area just because it's going to be a little bit further out from the, so it's going to be more suburban. I want to stick in the city where, especially being like a small city as well too. I want to stick inland where all the people are living at. I am looking for a few things. So I'm looking for a home, so a residential home. I'm looking for properties that have been listed for more than 45 days. Minimum square footage, it will be like 1,000, and I'm not looking for any properties that have been that are not built more than 2005. So off the bat, I have about 47 homes, not too bad. I'm gonna be breaking it down by the lowest price home. Um, we have this one, 175, 100. It's right a little bit outside the city. It's not too bad. This is could be like, it's not like over here in California or in Southern California. It's heavy, dense in traffic. This is actually could be like a 10 to 15-minute drive for them out there in Rapid City. And then from here, I'm just looking at the pictures, also reading the description. This is a property that is listed with an agent, and that's the way I started to work. I work a lot with agents, so agents can be very helpful. At the same time, can be a little bit stern. So they are going to be putting the foot down just because they have the contract with their seller. But the best way to like break that down, make the conversation ease is simply let him know like, hey, look, I'm actually interested in this property. I'm not an agent. I don't have any agent representing me. Are you by any chance able to represent me like on the buyer side and also represent like your seller? Like, does your brokerage allow you to do that? Most of the time they say yes. Sometimes in some states it is illegal for real estate agents to do dual agency or represent both the seller and the buyer. The way you work around that, and they know about it as well too, is do a transactional broker route. And what that is basically instead of the agent having being like part of the contract, it's actually going to be the broker, and the broker works with the agent on making sure that the agent gets their commission for that deal. So there is such thing that you can go around with dual agency, where there's states that it's illegal to do dual agency for real estate agents. And additionally to what else was I just mentioning? The sometimes just agents, even though they're allowed to do transactional brokerage, they strictly just don't want to work with wholesalers whatsoever. And that's perfectly fine. It gives you like a signal that it's just like that's not the agent that you want to work with whatsoever, even if they have like the property listed, even if it's a good deal, just because again, they have their preferences, and I respect that. So I'm not gonna be wasting their time and my time, just try to going back and forth on that whatsoever. So for this, I'm looking for again what kind of updates it is that we're looking into doing. Is the neighborhood also a rental neighborhood, or is it like a neighborhood where a lot of people are living? What kind of property was this? Was this a rental, or was this somebody who was living in the property? And then so far, it does need a good amount of repairs. It looks like it was an elderly person living inside this home just because of the assistance bars and the shower. I'm not sure if I know there was a ramp. No, there was no ramp. Okay. Um, so far, I like this home. Meets the square footage. It's pretty big. It's close to like the area. Sometimes I like to read what it is that they say, or the agent says as well too. And also, um, because again, sometimes they do list may require flood insurance. So that gives me like a signal that this area could be a high flood area, and that's something that maybe my buyers are just gonna they're gonna do their due diligence, and they're gonna see it's a high flood area, and they're just not gonna wanna they don't see it as a deal just because of that whatsoever. So those are little things that you have to pay attention to, just because again, those little things can really scare a buyer out of backing out of a deal. So let's say for lots and giggles, Somebody's actually, I have an end buyer who is like, you know what, I'll take it. They've dealt with this property, I mean, with this area or like floods in the past. So off the bat, again, I'm gonna put it back to you guys based on the pictures. Where are we heading? What kind of repairs? I'll definitely be interested. Want to hear like all the repairs that you guys see on here. What kind of repairs are we looking into so far?
Paint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Wait, can you go through the pictures again so I can kind of
Of
see?
course.
Oh yeah, and kitchen
Uh-huh.
floor,
Definitely.
kitchen floor too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yep, new bathroom.
Bathroom. Mm-hmm. Maybe some lighting as well too. Um,
Yeah.
Also because of that flood description, also maybe check like the piping as well too, so that could be something else that needs to be checked out just in case of anything. And so yeah, so far it's floors, paint, kitchen, bathrooms, maybe even the outside as well too, some of the siding. It does have a attached garage. Actually, it's really hard to tell if it's attached or detached just because of this little structure right over here. Um, and windows as well too. Sometimes you might need to do like some of the windows. I didn't see the windows from inside. Yeah, definitely the windows as well too. So yeah, this is gonna be close to like the average repairs. So let me put some of the information. So far this agent, and the reason I like to work with agents is because they have access to the MLS. So if they're listing a pricing, it's either the seller is telling them or the seller is relying on the agent for them to do their due diligence. So that way they can bring the most reasonable price into the listing, and it's a bit of both. So that's why I like to ask, hey, Mr. and Miss Agent, who came up with the pricing? Was it you? Did you do some you find some comps yourself, or did the seller is the seller like stuck to this asking price whatsoever? And let them tell you what's going on. Square footage, let me go back. Square footage was 1426. We were talking about being a good average amount of repairs as well too. So this one, it does need a little bit more, especially with that flooding. That's the only thing I'm playing it safe with. I'm gonna go a little bit higher when in doubt, go $5 higher. I know we're getting more than like on the gut job repairs, but I'm just playing it safe because again of that flooding going on whatsoever. So we're gonna be estimating a good $64,000 in repairs. My investors want to get a good, I'll say for this area, it'll be like 15% out of it, out of the deal, just because the reason why it's the area as well too. There could not be a lot of activity. I'm looking for like schools as well too, where the property I'm looking into, it does have um, a a lot of schools over here, so and also Air Force, so it could be a military area as well too. Um, so I'm just looking at those little things as well too. So based on this, the agent is telling us we can sell this property at 295. But if I'm trying to wholesale the deal, this could be my possible offer to bring in, but I'm not done with yet. But I need to find an ARV around 220. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate the tab. I'm also gonna head over to prop wire. And the reason I like prop wire is because they have a radius, which I like as well too. What's no is right over here. I like this radius. Again, going back to those appraisals or those comp parameters. Again, we want to stick within half-mile radius, but make sure that we don't cross any high traffic roads. Excuse me. So off the bat, we have two highways, Highway 1416 and Highway 90 over here. So very, very few comps are going to be popping up. And then so far in this half-mile to 1 mile radius, there's not a lot of activity going on. So is that ringing a deal or is that ringing a no deal bill?
Mm, I would say no deal.
No deal, right? Exactly. So this one's gonna be one that automatically I'll have to pass, but that's just one source telling me that I still need it. I just want to, for laugh and giggles, I want to check it out and see what's actually happening. So Zillow is going to give me a whole different information as well too, if anything, whatsoever. And oh, the reason why it's not showing is because I need to take out the filters over here. And sold. See if anything popped up in the last 6 months. 6 months. Okay, so our properties over here. We do have this 300 square foot subject property. Um, Again, our subject home is a 1950s home. This $300,000 home is a 2023 build. So again, we got to stick apples to apples. And this is not an apple that we can compare it over to. This is an orange. So far, there's no comps happening. So uh, I just got to move on forward away from this deal whatsoever, just because there's really nothing really happening. And maybe that's why the property hasn't really sold. It's been listed since October. They've been doing once a month. They've been doing the the price drops, very few price drops. It should be a lot more than now, but again, that's the way we're just going to be analyzing a lot of the deals from there. Um, so those are two different deals that we just analyzed, but again, everything is going to be through the calculator to help you guys break down everything for you, and it's going to simplify what it is that you guys have to actually look for, and just go from there. Okay. Any questions so far? Anything you guys want me to retouch up one more time? Something that you have yourself that you want me to comp up, analyze, so that way you can get a better perspective as well too. So this is the time where I leave it open for you guys to ask any and all questions that you have in mind.
I do actually got a question for you. So, um, what do you go you pull by list as far as like you list like you target a certain group of houses compared to obviously not just rundown houses, but when you let's say when you do a skip tracing, do you target a certain list?
Do I pull? No. So the best thing that I've actually done, to me, I say the best thing just because they do help out significantly and that they do reach out to you, is agents. So when I was looking up earlier, is when we're looking at all these properties, I see about 45 homes over here, or actually see 45 agents. So I'm not gonna make it. Sometimes I do pull lists. I can pull like absentee owners, out of state lists. Those are really good, or that are people, homeowners that are renting it out to like somebody else, and they're just either tired of owning it or they just want to get rid of their portfolio whatsoever. So I like that list a lot as well. But what I like to do is actually I like to reach out to agents. So I see this as 45 different agents, because agents, they're doing all the hard work. They're doing the marketing. They're doing the cold calling. They're getting the properties out there. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more challenging as well too, but it's finding that agent that is working with investors, has worked with investors in the past as well too, or is currently working with investors that they already know where a lot of the offers are coming in on their deals. So I'm just trying to place myself onto that list with them. And then whatever it is that they have, to text it over to me as well too, and then see if we can work a deal going on from there. If they don't have a deal, I also want to get a sense of how many deals they're getting like on a monthly or yearly basis. That helps you understand how active they are, how much hustle they're putting in as well too. Because again, part of my thing with the agents is bringing that offer in that I don't have anyone representing me, so you actually get the entire commission. If the commission happens to be either, which is always listed on all Zillow, Redfin, or any platform that is on the MLS, it's always going to show you how much the listed agent is going to be making like on the deal. It will usually say it. It says it over here on top. it will usually like say some, I'm not sure if it's here or like on the description, but it will usually tell you how much the agent is going to be making for that specific deal. And then again, you just bring in that extra money over to them. And then if they're going to definitely like that, and then anything else, if you happen to work on a deal with them and they see how quickly you're able to move, because again, part of the contingencies um, is bringing that up, have them get double the commissions, but you're also working quickly. You're working on a 21 to 30 day time frame, which is really quick for them to move to like something else. If you can close faster because you have an end buyer who can move really fast, then by all means as well too. You're making it easier for the seller by making sure that the seller does keep a little bit of the money as well too. And the only thing that you're asking for is just for this inspection period. That's the only thing that you could be majorly asking for as part of like your biggest term, because again, this is the part, these 15 days, and these are business days, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. only. And you may be asking why those days is because that's, you could let them know our guys, our contractors only work those days. So those are the days that are available to come in and check it out. And that's about it. So it's just, you're working with them more with that. So, but when I'm pulling lists, I do pull some lists, which is going to be a lot of absentee owners, especially for this year. Probably a lot of them are going to be selling just because prices are going to be skyrocketing from here, just because rates are already slowly and steady dropping down at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. And now, when you're telling the agent, are you telling them that you're an investor, or would you tell them that you're like a wholesaler? Because I know like the
So
term
I don't use
wholesaler.
investor. I tell them that I'm a cash buyer, and me and my partners, we are doing. I let them know I'm out of state, so this is like an out of state deal. I let them know what we do. Deals. About we actually done deals in Kansas, Missouri, and then I'm basically out of California. So I let them know like we are buyers out of California. So me and my partners, we do a lot of deals, so we can't go in person to check out the property, and just let them know from there. Because again, you eventually, once you start picking up, you can become a buyer yourself. And a part of the wholesale process, part of the contract, which if you guys do want access to the contracts, is completely for free on the educational side on my website, just Elton Vargas. The contracts are going to be in there, which work on all 50 states, and there's previous Zooms and everything from there if you guys want to go into it. But part of the purchase and sale agreement, or when I work with agents, I make them bring over their standard state that they work in, their contract, and I want to make sure that it says that either my name or the LLC that we have, and it says and or assigns.
Do most agents, do they ask for proof of funds?
Not the ones. So I had this question as well too. One of the Zooms is the one time that we had to get proof of funds was when we were looking at a 30 plus unit apartment, because the seller was requesting it from that side. When we're looking at single family homes or duplex, triplex, or quads, they don't. They don't whatsoever.
In the case that they do, I know there's like some, like you say, alternatives, like different, I guess you say, sites where they can get you
There,
a proof of funds.
yeah, there's like a free site, or like, yeah, there's a bunch of websites that I can write up the proof of funds for you, or you can just message me on the meetup, or just what's it called? Just message me through like the website, because I get all notifications over here, and let me know like to get you proof of funds, and I'll get you proof of funds as well too. And so yeah, no worries about proof of funds. It's like
Gotcha.
that's the last thing. The
Right,
first
right.
first thing is just get the property under contract and just negotiate the hell out of the deal, because that's gonna be part of the thing. Because the hardest thing is the hardest step is getting somebody to say yes. And once somebody says yes, then you're going to go through like a blank phase, like, oh crap, I didn't expect that. What am I supposed to do next? So that's why you have to, as soon as you get the property under contract, start working on everything else, get the property in the contract. Again, the sellers accepting the terms, start taking pictures, or if you're out of state, or if you're doing virtually, you do have to reach out or work with an agent or somebody to like help you like take care of the take pictures of the property, or even get the seller, hey, can you by chance take pictures of the property so that way I can get like a sense of what it actually looks like, or do like a virtual tour of the property so that way they can give you the insight of what's actually going on. Because video is going to be a little bit better. So that way you can get like a sense, and especially sometimes some homes are vacant and there's no electricity running through it, so it's going to be playing on the dark. So it's just working with as many resources as possible, and then from there, the next thing is making sure that you find an end buyer. And then when you're doing whenever you're trying to find a buyer, make sure you don't market the property, make sure you're marketing the contract. So you're basically promoting assignment, contract assignments for sale, contract assignment, and then you put all the details below. Because there are states that it's illegal to do wholesaling. Make sure to the reason why you want to do the contract is because if you're promoting the property, then that means you're brokering the property. You're basically a real estate broker who's promoting the property, and you can get sued for that. And that's why some states are banning it as well too, because a lot of wholesalers are not marketing the contract, they're marketing the property. So whenever you're doing some marketing, if you're using Facebook, text messages, make sure you put in the very first line, contract assignment for sale or contract assignments.
That makes sense. Do you also do JV deals?
JV helps out a lot as well too. Yes. JV kind of helps you out. That also depends if they have buyers. That helps out in terms of like expediting like the process for you and find like an end buyer. But sometimes you just have to be careful with JVing the deals, is because you don't want them to do I forget what the word is, but you basically when you're JVing, that wholesaler is going to wholesale to like somebody else. I think it's called daisy chaining or something like that, if I remember right. So that's the thing. It's, you just got to be careful with the JV deals. I haven't done one JV deal. I almost did, but it was just like I didn't like it. I just don't like how the wholesaler was just doing things. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'm not interested. It's okay.
Makes
Like,
sense.
I don't want you to be my end buyer or like my buyer or my JV person whatsoever. So it's like a sense when you're doing like so many you're doing so many properties deals, it just you start picking up on little things like that.
Okay, that makes sense. I appreciate it.
Uh, Any other questions about analysis, steps, anything else, deal, no deal, calculator? Remember, it's completely for free. Head over to the calculators, get the pro bundle so that we have access to the ARV and the rental one. The rental one is, again, if you need to analyze like a property or underwrite like a property for a rental, just get the pro bundle. Use the coupon code not gatekeeping, and it's complete for free. The only thing on my website that is not for free, even when I'm doing like these meetups, is the one-on-one session. If you want to do a 1 hour one-on-one, we can do cold calling together. We can do role play. We can do marketing strategy, get understanding of the market, just whatever it is that you need. That's the only thing from it. Everything else, calculators, I'm already giving it for free on this thing on the meetup.com. Live and Zoom events. The education is for free. There's quizzes if you want to test yourself. We are working on some medium and hard level questions. Right now, there's only two free easy ones, and the medium and hard level ones will be coming in soon. So make sure you do those as well too, so that we can test your knowledge on scenarios, true and false, the whole 10 yards, everything is in there whatsoever. So anyway you want to get in touch with me, it'll be more one-on-one. If you want to, again, do anything else that you need help with more specifically, but anything else from there, it's just calculators and then educating yourself and just be consistent with a lot of your deals and follow-ups. But if there's no any other questions whatsoever, this is recorded as well too. So the recording will be available on the meetup comments in the next 2 to 3 hours For some reason, YouTube has been very slow, so just give it some time. And or again, head over to the real estate, the educational page, and it will be uploaded there as well too. All right. So any more questions or anything last minute?
Well, this is my first time like learning about wholesaling, so I don't know what to ask.
You know,
But
you're perfectly fine. Yeah, just getting started, it'll be my number one recommendation. Just don't be scared of just pulling like a list. Again, there's lists available on PropWire. It shows
Mhm.
you that all the lists that are available right there. Skip tracing is the only thing you have to pay for, but if you want to pay for that, there's truepeoplesearch.com. Put in the address on there, and you make sure you match it to the homeowner, and
Mhm.
you can find all the information from there. And then just get on the phones, call people. If you do need help with like a script on the educational side, on the file section, there's like a cold calling script roadmap, and it shows you like all the questions, all the scenarios of what people how people will answer you. There's ways to handle some objections as well too. All the contract, everything, it's on the educational side. So if you want to take a deep dive into that, just take a deep dive into the educational, or head back over to some of the previous Zooms, some of the live Zooms that I've done where people have asked different questions that you might be asking yourself today. I can't really go back to like all of them on top of my head where you should go from here and there. But the very first step is getting a list of people. If you want to do locally, drive around your neighborhoods, look for properties that look like there haven't been there's nobody living in there, there's overgrown grass area, the condition looks bad from outside. So if you can do drive for dollars, and also you can door knock as well too. So there's a lot of different things that you can do from there. So it really depends, but also do consider that real estate is a business, and also real estate wholesaling is a business. So you do need to have the mindset of a business, because again, that's what it is. Because once you get a deal done, you also got to be getting taxed from that as well too, and you have to open up your LLC. Not on your first deal. Your first deal, it's usually just put everything under your name, and then from there, once you get your first deal, then open up your LLC, and then make everything be run through the LLC, and so on and forth. But just start getting in touch with like properties. It just depends on the level of seriousness that you're at as well too. But you have to like make sure that you're educating yourself on a lot of things. So ask yourself a lot of there's a lot of key questions that you need to ask yourself, because again, it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
For working with an agent, do they ever know that you'll be wholesaling the deal, or would they just
Nope.
always believe it's that you're purchasing the property yourself?
I have never been called out a wholesaler,
No.
because when they will ask you, "Are you wholesaling this?" Well, let them know. Well, we wholesale, we fix and flip, we buy and hold. So we're buyers. Like, what does it matter?
Right.
They're asking you what your exit strategy is. What does that matter? Like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can put it under my name, and then assign it, do annual assigns, and then assign it over to our land trust, or assign it to an
Right.
LLC. Or maybe I'm the one doing the numbers, but actually one of my partners is the one I'm gonna be taking over it. So
Yeah. And then
doesn't really matter. It's just like we do everything. What does it really matter from it?
right.
Because
When
again,
it comes to title companies, do you go with their title companies, or do you go with, or you're allowed to go with your own title companies when you work with an agent?
I'm sorry, one more time.
So, like when you're working with an agent, do you usually have to go through their title companies, or do you go with your own title
Yeah, I go with them because again, in the beginning, I let them know that I'm a cash buyer. Uh, we do a lot of our deals over here in California. Just give them like a little bit of context of me, what it is that I'm looking for, and then just work with them on everything. So I can make it smooth. I'm not gonna be making it as tough from them. And again, it makes it a lot smoother when you go with the title company from the agent, because again, I asked them if they'd be working with other investors and cash buyers, just buyers overall, as well too, so that we can get a sense. And if they do, it just works. The fees are a little bit less as well too, and everything just works a lot smoother from there. The only thing that I care about that it says on the contract, it says and/or assigns, and I have my inspection period. Those are the only two major things that I need, because everything else, it's hard. It may seem like it just quite a amount of steps. It's rather easy. So once you do your first deal, then that again you get like a shock, but you're like, that was it. Okay, cool. Now it's like, let's do the next one and the next one, and the next one. It just like brings that energy over to you, and it just, you get the ball rolling, and it's just fun.
Gotcha. Okay. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. All right, so I'll wrap it up. Again, give it a few hours for this recording. If you want to check out this one back again, or if you want to go back, check out some of the other ones, head over to the page, Elton Vargas, and then just, check it out, the educational side, and get the calculators as well too. So that way, if you have a property or somebody tells you that they're actually interested in buying or anything, hey, just that's a buyer off the bat as well too. So I wish you guys the best of luck, and get started as quickly as possible. And just any hesitations or any questions or more one-on-ones, book me through there, the one-on-ones. All right. Thank you guys. You guys have a good rest of the night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.